This video continues where the last one left off. So part one ended at converting decimals back to fractions. And we want to start off this video, part two, by revisiting some of the key concepts from the first video.
The next thing we have to explain is where you have in whole numbers, you have a ones column, a tens column, hundreds. Okay, so let's just show those columns again. Okay, say the decimal place is here. So this is the ones column. This is the tens column, and this is the, sorry, I'm writing it in angles because it can't fit horizontally, and this is the hundreds column. After the decimal point, so after the decimal point, the first column is not ones on this side, it's tenths. So same spelling as here, except you've got a T and an H on the end of it. So tenths. And the next column after, similar to hundreds, except TH. So hundredths. So you whack the T and the H on the end. And after the hundreds, of course, you have thousands. So here you would have thousands. Let's just write it. Okay, so this is the ones column. You need to get 10 in this column before it's carried forward to the ones column, just like you've done before in your addition and your subtraction, right? So it must hit 10 here before this becomes 0 and the next column up becomes 1. So this, if you just remember the concept, so it's 5 tenths and it's 5 tenths, 5 tenths. So this is the tenths column. So whenever you see a fraction that is something over 10, then you know it belongs in the tenths column. That's if it's one digit. Okay, but meaning it's less, the value is less than 1. The value of the numerator is less, is more than the less than the value of the denominator. So we're talking about values under 1. Okay, so that's the first part of the decimal explanation.
Let's go on to activity 19. Now I have written the 6 problems down here. And what the questions want to know are, if they've underlined a number, they want to know what is the place value. So which column is it occupying, that particular number. For the first question, I have underlined 8. So I'll give you time now to answer the question. Did you get it? Okay. That is after the decimal place. The first place after is the tenths, and the second place after is the hundredths. Hundredths. Okay. The second question is underlining the 2. So that's not so hard because you would know that from before you met decimals. And that is in the thousands column, because that's the ones column, that's the tens, hundreds, thousands. Not with a TH on the end, just straight thousands. Okay, the third one. The number they are underlining is the 8. I'll give you time to answer it now. Did you get it? Okay. This is the ones, that's the tens. So the answer is the tens column, or the tens place value. Okay, the fourth one underlines the 2. I'll give you some time to solve it now. Did you get it? Okay. That is one place after the decimal point, so that is the 10th. On to the fifth one, the second last one, and we have 5 underlined. And I'll give you time to solve it now. Did you get it? Ones. And the last one, number 6, 8 is underlined. I'll give you time to solve it now. Did you get it? Hundreds. Okay, so how do we add and subtract decimals? Well, just like any other number that doesn't include decimals, if you were to write it out, you must make sure that when you're adding or subtracting, that the columns are aligned, like they're in the correct column for the place values. So ones are all in a row, they're perfectly vertically aligned, and also all the other columns. And especially when it comes to decimals, the decimal point must be aligned. I'll show you what I mean. 45.31, 61.03, 52.001, and 1.10101. If we were to add all of this, we must make sure that they're in their correct column. So the decimal place is aligned, the tenths numbers are aligned, the hundredths are aligned, and the thousandths are aligned, as well as, of course, the ones column and the tens column. And you can go on and on further to your left, depending on how big the number you're adding is. So if we were to add it down, we start at the left, at far right, and that is 1, there are no numbers over here, 1 and 1 is equal to 2. So I want to point out something. If there is no number here, by default there's a 0 there. There's a 0 there, we just haven't bothered to write it in. Just like there are a million other zeros that always exist after any number, but we don't show it. We don't show it unless that 0 has some importance. And how important a 0 is, that sort of detailed explanation comes far later in your learning of maths. However, you should know that any number after the decimal point, where there are zeros after and no other number apart from 0, then you don't bother to write those other zeros. If, however, you have 3, 4, 5 zeros and then a 1 afterwards, then you've got to write everything up until the 1. So I'm just pointing out that we might not show it, but there's a 0 in that column and there's a 0 in that column. So 0 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 is 2. Here, 1 plus 3 plus 0 plus 0. That gives 4. Then 3 plus 0 plus 0 plus 1 gives another 4. Decimal point, extremely important. Put the decimal place exactly where it should go. Then 5 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 9. So you put the 9 there. And in the final column, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 5 is 15. So 5 goes in the bottom, and 1 gets carried over. Nothing else to add over here. Again, like I said, on this side there are zeros you don't see. We don't bother writing it down. Same as numbers on this side. On the left side of the decimal point, after the last number, there are zeros there that go into infinity. We just don't write them down because they're not important. They don't hold any significant place, so we leave them out. We will write them in if that had some significance, but in this case, no. So there are zeros all the way down here. We carry the 1 over. All these zeros, we add it to the 1, still you get 1. So 159.442. All right, I hope you got that one. So how are decimals subtracted? Well, exactly the same way that they're added. I mean, you're doing a different thing, but you have to, the important thing is you have to align everything. So if we go with an example, let's try 1001.35 minus 40.05, and you further subtract, let's say 32.30. Okay. First thing is you make sure the marking of where the decimal place is very clear. I don't mean that you should draw a line in your exercise book, but that you can see where the line is, and you're very careful about that when you are writing your answer. Okay, so the tenths column and the hundredths column. And over here, the ones column, tens column, hundreds column, and the thousands column. Okay, let's start on the far right. First number that we come across is 5 on the top, and then you are to subtract. Subtract 5, and then further subtract 0. So 5, you take away 5, left with a big fat 0. Next one, in the tens column, 3 minus 0, still left with 3, then minus 3. Then you're left with nothing. Another big fat 0. Then you put the decimal point, super important, decimal point, 1 minus 0 minus 2. Okay? Now, what you would have learned in school is you can't take away 2 from 1. You've got to beef the 1 up, borrow from the next next one up. So this one has 0, so it borrows from this one, which then borrows from this one. So that one is taken away, this one borrows it, then this one borrows it, and then you're left with, so this became 10, one was borrowed, 9, and then this became 10 because you had 0 and you added 1 from the next column. So you had 9 as well as soon as this column borrowed the 1. So you have small 1 there. So now in the ones column you have 11, tens column 9, and hundreds column you have another 9. The thousands column has nothing left there. Okay, so 11 minus 0, still got 11, minus 2, 9. Next column, 9 minus 4, that gives you 5. Then minus 3, that gives you 2. Last column, 9 minus 0, left with 9. 929.00. Now because this is 0.00, you can rewrite it to just 929. But since this is specifically a decimal question, you might want to just put the zeros there just to show as part of your working that you understand that's exactly what it's come to. Because later you will learn rounding up. So if you haven't put the 0 there, one possible way to interpret it is that it's got a small number in there that's being rounded up, or a big number that's being rounded up, or a small number that's being rounded down. And it just looks like a 0, unless, of course, you write the 0. So 929 is the simplest way to write it. Yeah, so that is subtraction. Let's now tackle activity 20. That's addition and subtraction of decimals. And I have up here the first 2 problems. So we'll start with this one. And if you just make sure that you align all your numbers so there's similar place values on top of each other. And I'll give you time to solve it now. Did you get it? Okay. So the answer is 9 plus 5 gives you 14, so 4, carry the 1. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7, plus the 1 that you've carried there, that's 8. Make sure you put the decimal place. It's right under the other 2 decimal places. And 3 plus 1 is 3. And that's your answer. But always be careful about the columns. All right, and then on to the next one. So 28.45 plus 12.78. I'll give you time to answer it now. Did you get it? Okay. 5 plus 8 gives you 13. 3. Carry 1. 7 plus 4 is 11. Then you add the 1. That's 12. You carry the 1. Make sure you put the decimal place exactly under the other 2. Then 8 and 2 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. Carry 1. 4 and 1 is 3. Plus 1 that you carried across. And that gives you 4. And that's your answer. The next 2 problems from activity 20. I'll give you time now to solve number 3. Did you get it? It's a subtraction question. Always be careful. Double check, triple check that you're doing the correct function. Subtraction or addition. This one is subtraction. That's a very easy mistake that is made. 5 minus 1 is 4. That's in the hundredths column. 0 minus 7. Now you got to borrow from the next one. So this 8 and this 9 becomes 8. And you borrowed 1. So that becomes 10. 10 minus 7 in the tenths column gives you 3. You put a 0 there to mark very clearly where the decimal point is. You got 8 there now. Minus 3. Sorry, minus 5 is equal to 3. And 7 minus 2 is equal to 5. And there's your answer. I'll give you time now to answer number 4. Did you get it? Okay. Again, it is a subtraction. 6 minus 1 is 5. Into the tenths column. 5 minus 2 is 3. Decimal point going exactly where it should. 4 minus 4 is 0. 3 minus, there's a 0 here and a 0 here. 3 minus 0 is 3. And 8 minus 0 is 8. 830.35. There you have it. On to the last 2 questions of activity 20. And before I do solve number 5 here, I'll give you time to solve the problem yourself. Did you get it? Okay, check. Is it subtract or add? It's add. Okay, you clear? Here there's no problem. Everything is in its column. Hundredths column. 1 and 8 gives you 9. 9 and 7 gives you 16. 6 with the decimal place. Carry 1. 9 plus 7, 16. Carry 1. 7 and 4 is 11. You add 1 is 12. Carry 1. 4 and 3 is 7. But you add the 1, that gives you 8. And 2 plus, there's a 0 here. 2 plus 0 is still 2. So your answer is 282.69. Mark is beginning to slide a bit there. Before we do the last one, I'll give you a bit of time to solve it. Did you get it? Okay. Again, it's a plus. So 9 plus 3 is 12. 2 carry 1. 1 plus 0 is 1. Then you add the 1 up here. Gives you 2. Decimal place, super important. Right under the other 2 on top. 9 plus 0 is 9. And 2 plus, there's a 0 here. 2 plus 0 is 2. Right, you did well. If you enjoyed the video, including all the barking of the dogs in the background, then hit the like button and subscribe to receive the notifications. Thank you for watching.